changed the wardrobe before the drugs episode. I look much cleaner. I should have done a little shave, so I presented myself as
Put your tie on, put the jacket on. Go, well, actually, Misfits at home. This is a PG-13 discussion on why drugs are bad, and yet everyone does them. And I get to come off like the moral high ground of it. Well, I don't do drugs, and so everyone that does them, like, well, so we'll get into that actually, because I do consume a lot of coffee, so that's technically caffeine's a drug, Chris. There's always one. There's for sure. There's going to be one in the YouTube Shorts comments. Well, actually, like motherfuckers. Anyway, let's roll the episode.
Okay.
From Sydney, Australia, all the way to Portland, USA, two misfits hang out after class to riff on the B-sides of professional life. These are your professional misfits.
Excuse me. All the way from Sydney, Australia, I am your host, Christopher Sellers.
I'm from Portland, Oregon. I'm Broedy Hypocrisy.
And we are your professional misfits, where we riff on the B-sides of professional life. And welcome to Season 3, welcome to Episode 4, and welcome to Drugs Are Bad, Misfits. And yet, everybody does them. Let's get into it. Broedy, quick overview. Drugs. Are drugs bad? Are you telling your kids that drugs are totally okay in moderation?
I'm lucky enough to have not had to have that conversation yet. So
The surprised Pikachu look on your face is priceless. Everyone on Spotify, go to YouTube just so you can catch that moment.
How about we throw you under the bus first this time? Let's go with you. So, general overview: are drugs bad?
Well, okay, yeah, I think I'm going to be annoying, but it's like define a drug. Like we joked about in the intro. Like technically, caffeine's a drug, so let's get into it. Antidepressants technically drugs, but they're good for you. Let's get into it. What's the difference between a narcotic and a drug? I'll tell you, because I did that research. So it's going to be this, and this is actually what I found was interesting, just where the Venn diagram overlaps, in terms of a drug, a narcotic, an antidepressant, a depressant, things like this. And of course, alcohol is the biggest one that stares us all in the face, right? So let's get into it, misfits. Let's get into the nitty gritty of, are drugs bad? Why they're bad? If they're not bad, do you do them? If you don't, and what that means for you. And before we dive into the episode, just a quick reminder that you can join us on Camp Misfit. You can get all of the episodes 2 weeks advance. You can support us if you join before January 31st of 2024. You'll get 15% off all the Misfit goodies. So if you're a fan, if you're a client, come find us, come hang out, and come have a chat at camp. All right, Broedy, drugs. How do you define a drug? How do you personally define a drug?
Okay, yeah. For me, I think it's pretty simple. It's anything that alters your baseline of reality.
Close. That's a pretty decent explanation. It's also a very broad explanation.
It is.
And that's fair. That's a great place to start. Can you give me an example of a few things that you would consider to be drugs within your world?
I think food is a drug. I think alcohol is a drug. I think marijuana is a drug. I think caffeine's a drug. I think prescription medication is a drug. I think it's all umbrellaed under kind of that same definition. It in some way alters your baseline of reality. Then to me, that is a drug. So all of them touch on nicotine, anything, you know what I mean? And again, because chemically that's its intent, right, is to alter that baseline. And that's when it's no dispute there. It's definitely a drug.
Interesting. Well, let's stick with the definitions first before we dive into have you ever, because I know that's what the Misfits really want to hear. But so your definitions, not too far from what I found. So I did a quick searchy before we jumped on. So I thought, I wonder what the actual definition of a drug is. According to sources, a drug is a chemical substance which, when administered, produces a biological effect.
Okay.
Right. So when you talk about alcohol, like, yes, we can track down, these alcohol chemicals, these are the ones that affect you. We know that nicotine is a drug. We know that the drug caffeine in coffee beans or cacao beans, that's the chemical that sort of would affect us. And so when it comes to, it's funny when you said like food, when I looked up this definition as well, I said, well, that would mean, like, would sugar be a drug? So we start having these questions of like, what exactly constitutes drug use, for instance. Now, do you know the difference between a narcotic and a drug?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't. We're talking about actual strict definition, definitely don't know the difference.
Okay, so this is if you think of drugs as the giant umbrella, and so the mini umbrella underneath this is a narcotic is a drug or substance consumed for non-medical reasons, which affects mood or behavior.
Mood or behavior specifically, okay.
And is and is taken without prescription. Excuse me. So it's still a bit vague, but it starts to narrow down on like, okay, I can identify that
circumstance
alcohol.
and application.
Yeah. So alcohol is more of a narcotic because it affects mood and behavior. Nicotine, maybe up for debate. Marijuana, up for debate. Marijuana is an interesting. I'll get to that in a second, actually. So that's a narcotic, folks.
I feel like because I'm from fucking Oregon, that's its whole own can of worms. I've had so many comments from professionals on LinkedIn and thing like that are cool with the culture, you know what I mean? And they'll ask because a lot of states aren't legal here still, and recreationally speaking.
Pause. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So pause just there because I want to get to the next definition, then we'll come back. So then there's something I looked up also an antidepressant, because we know alcohol, for instance, is a depressant. It lowers your mood, it makes you feel shitty, and certain other narcotics behave in the same way. So what's an antidepressant, considering that antidepressants get such a horrible reputation in this day and age, and reasonably justifiably so. So an antidepressant is a medication or a drug which is prescribed specifically to treat depression.
Okay.
So dialing back momentarily to your point about cannabis, right? And so in some places, cannabis is a narcotic. In other places, cannabis or even CBD oil could be an antidepressant. And really it's perspective and legalities. Right. So we're not gonna dwell too much on weed, but what I thought would be valuable for this conversation is, because we're going to get into more the hows and the whys of we do partake of these things. Where experimentation starts, if it ever should, when it ends, what the consequences of these things are. But I thought definitions would be handy before we blanket move into this space of drugs are bad.
And I'm glad because seriously, narcotics was something that like I said, definition, I don't know, like I can make my educated guess, right? But at the same time, I know I'm pretty ignorant to the actual truth of it. So that was cool. Can I touch on something real quick before we move on? You said something about antidepressants having kind of a negative perspective. Is that how it is for you in Australia? That's and I want to expand on that. We don't have to stay here for too long, but is it antidepressants themselves or the act of having to take them?
Look, I think by comparison, Australia to the US, we're not as subject to like the giant pharmaceuticals, and so America's all about capitalism, and then
Money.
unregulated capitalism. And other people have expounded well on the issue and how antidepressants were just sort of sold like candy as the one-stop silver bullet to fix anything mental related. ADHD, take a pill. Depression, take a pill. Tired, take a pill. And it's been proven not to work, right? And there's been no accountability, which is I think what upsets people the most. And you're absolutely entitled to that. Australia, I'd reason we're not so affected by it over here. I can only speak to my own personal journey with antidepressants, and we might get into that a little bit later. But I don't really seek pills as the solution to fix the ailment. In my case at the moment, it's sort of
as you shouldn't.
And in my case at the moment, it's sort of an additional support. But we might come back to this a little bit later. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah, no, that answered it for me. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think you nailed it. It really does have this kind of negative connotation over here, and really, it felt good to hear you say that from outside in, that justifiably so, right? Because I think for me in it personally, and I've experimented with antidepressants and had a therapist and blah blah blah. It is just a sling of shit. You know what I mean? It's the next contract. It's the next fucking big commercial pill, whatever the fuck is driving that isn't out of empathy and care, right? It's total, like you said, capitalism. And that's right there where I think people get fucked. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this.
Okay, we're here. So I would agree. So just while we're here, excuse me, on this subject. So for the misfits who don't know, I care about two things: creativity and mental health, and I suffer from both. Now, the thing with all mental health for everyone is it's entirely personal and subjective, which can make it really, really difficult and frustrating for the individual, but also everyone around them. Because if you have a headache, here, take a paracetamol, fixed, right? Depression, anxiety, mental health in general, unfortunately, doesn't work like that. Everyone's
even when you are taking the pill, when you are taking a pill,
right? And so here's my best anecdote, and this was from my GP, probably within the last 9 months. When actually at the beginning of this year, I think I was wanting to try a new pill because I just needed some support. What I was doing wasn't working. My condition was kind of deteriorating. I realized I needed help. So as well as exercise and a few other things, this was going to be a support that I needed. The really great conversation that she had with me in the beginning, because I knew whatever pill I go on, you got to try it for 4 to 6 weeks to see if it takes. Whatever side effects there happen to be, you kind of got to live through that. You got to ride that wave, and then after another 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, then you can sort of decide whether it's you for not, for you or not, I should say. She was upfront. She was like, "Look, all antidepressants, we don't know how they work. We don't know why they work."
Wow.
Yeah. She's like, "We don't know how they work. We don't know why they work, but we do know that they are effective for some people."
It's a fucking sales pitch here.
Okay. So I'll continue. So at least I had this knowledge going in, and she was candid about this, like in the room. And so it's like, look, I know I'm going to be a guinea pig. It's about trialing this thing to see what it's going to be like. And right. To be honest, in my total journey of all antidepressants and everything else, I think I've gone about through 8 different pills until I've finally arrived at one that works for me. I'm not going to name it because it works for me, folks. It's not your silver bullet, so I'm not going to recommend that. And even so, I take it sparingly because I'm trying to have my system compensate rather than become addicted or rely on the tablet.
Love that.
So I know we weren't going to talk about too much about antidepressants, but here we are.
Yeah, sorry, that was me.
It's all good. All right. So let's dial it back to other things. Like, okay, drugs are bad. Everybody drinks. What's that about? Why don't we include alcohol in the list of things that we should regulate, dial back on, may or may not legalize, for instance?
It's too socially acceptable, and the culture around it is too much, again, a capital driver. You look at bars, you look at clubs, you look at what you do in particular when you're under the influence of alcohol. It's make them stupid, make them happy, right? Like that's the whole sentiment, and it sucks because everybody knows it too. It's not.
Well, I was going to ask, like, do you consider it a drug? Because I'm sure there is
Yes.
Well, I'm sure there's a slice of the population out there who's like, no, it's not the same.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what they've been marketed, right? Like you got to think about that shit too, and especially here in the States. So for instance, let's do you guys have a place in Australia kind of like Vegas for
Yeah, it's the Gold Coast.
okay. Well,
Everyone in Australia gets that joke.
and what I mean by that too is like it's fucking alcohol on every square foot. It's not like on every block or like every few streets. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, and there's a lot of places like that when you actually look around the town or look around what's happening in the culture, that's the driver is the nightlife or the clubs or the bars or things like that. And it's like, holy shit, you cannot tell me that's not a drug. It's just socially acceptable, right? And to me too, as much as I think school and a bunch of other things have just been social experiments, alcohol has been one that they were like, yeah, if everyone has a drug, right? Everyone has a drug. Everyone's got something. Let's give them something and let's be in control of it. And it has worked beautifully, and I'm on the fence with you on the side that it is a drug. It's a drug. It's mind altering. It changes your things happening for you physiologically. Like there's just a ton of shit. You can't deny that it's under that category. But again, I think because it's just been the norm, right? You go to barbecues, there's booze. You go to birthdays, there's booze. You go to bachelor parties, Christmas, there's spiked punch, like whatever the hell, spiked eggnog, like that's the culture around it. And to me, it's one of the most invasive and socially accepted. And that's why, even though for the Misfits and everybody professionally now, I partake in other things. I don't in alcohol. I just won't go there. I can't.
Because that was leading to my next question. Like, because I assumed that you do drink, or but you used to, surely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
So I'd say the last 5 years, okay, it really tapered off, circa the beginning of those 5. And then the last 2, I haven't had a drop of alcohol. Yeah, I don't even remember the last time.
You're outrageous. You're a freak.
I am a freak, and it bothers the hell out of people. And it's crazy too, because we're 2 years in, Chris. We're 2 years in, and people know this. And it's not like, for me, Misfits, it's not like a sobriety thing. I'm not preaching sobriety here, or like I need to stay away from it for X, Y, and Z. I just personally see it fundamentally differently than I think a lot of people do. And it just does not allow me to cross that boundary for myself anymore. Because when I do, even, right, like if I were to, the state that my head puts itself in, fucking physically, I would just fucking crumble. It's not worth it to me anymore. And yeah, again, 2 years in, and people are still, they'll be like, you want to go have a drink, or you want to do this, or do you want a beer? And it's like, bro, no. It's like, I love you. Enjoy your fucking beer. I'm not against it at all. My sister loves socially drinking. My dad has social drinks. Yeah, it's just not me anymore. It's just not me. So,
did you know I went on a first date with a girl once, and it was...
Do not name her. We've done this in a prior season.
I can't remember. Yeah. At least I can't remember her name. But I went on a date with a girl once, and we went for dinner, and the date was over within 5 minutes because the waiter, who's a friend, came over and said, "Oh, anything to drink?" And she's like, "Oh, hey, look, yeah, bottle of wine. What are you thinking, white or red?" And I said, "Oh, I don't drink." And she's like, "I don't mind if you do." And the date was over. Then
You called the date?
No, you could tell.
Okay, you could just. Okay, I got you.
Could tell.
It died right there. I got you.
Yeah. It was just like the switch.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
The switch flicked for her. It's like, oh, this is a guy I could never have a drink with for the rest of my life, and that was date's over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's so I get it. Like you.
So for how long for you? Just to
I never have.
air this thing out. Never. Shut your hole.
Do you not? Do you not? Have we not had this conversation?
We've never spoken about this.
Wow. All right, Misfits.
French for the Misfits. And just so you know, me and Chris do this a lot. We'll have our own personal side conversations. We talk about life. We talk about everything. But we save certain shit where we're like, wait, this would make a good episode for these guys. Let's fucking hold it.
I wasn't even saving this. I just sort of, it's assumed knowledge. And I posted it about it a number of times. So
I've read the posts. No, I've read the posts, but and look, I'll tell you this for your own perspective. Outside in, you get the perspective that it's something that you just don't do anymore, and not in a oh my god, we're gonna have to fix that, and not in like I've overused it and abused it kind of thing. Just like it never interested me kind of way. I've done it, but kind of
no. Okay, so here's where I pull out my moral soapbox and stand
the fuck on it. I mean,
else.
Oh my god.
So never drunk any alcohol ever. No, not at birthday parties, not at christenings, not at weddings, not when I turned 21. Never. No, I haven't had a traumatic experience. No, it's not religious. No, my parents aren't abusive alcoholics and I'm traumatized. It's just never been my jam. There's that. I've also never smoked anything. I've also never taken any kind of narcotic.
No cigarettes, nothing.
No weed, no cigarettes, nothing. And no other class A's of any sort. My two vices, are coffee and women. So
what the fuck? Okay.
I know. Yeah, okay. So you're having that moment. And probably all the Misfits are as well. And
I'll say this. It's just something that, and it's funny because I know you and I know your level of honesty. So I know it's not bullshit, right? But if you were having
someone in the comments,
I know, but that's why, right? Like, because
you would look, never happened.
you look at it though, and really in your mind, you're like, it's the same thing as the kind of like influence that I was talking about alcohol having here in the States. Like, it's fucking everywhere, right? You're not running from it. It's not like you got away from it. It's not like people around you didn't drink. And to hear too someone say, look, it wasn't because I had a traumatic experience. It wasn't because I was worried about being addicted to it. I just didn't, I'm being dead ass honest. Like, because for me, I'm that guy that's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try it.
I sometimes it's normally two things. I normally get, wow, that's really, really good. Like, it's really rare. Apparently for an Australian, it's really rare. Apparently for a guy in Sydney, it's really, really rare. Like, oh, you don't drink. So there's that. And then
you've also been a fucking bartender.
I know. And the funny thing was, like, I'll mix cocktails. I'll even create and mix cocktails. And no one would ever know, I mean, well, how do you know? So, because I know how to cook, man. I know how to mix flavors. That's what mixology is. And besides, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know, and you just assumed I'm just another fucking bartender. Anyway, but then there's also some dude, bro, who's like, well, how do you know you don't like it if you haven't tried it? Okay.
I mean, yeah, but like at that point, like, what does it matter? Right? Because like that's my thing. Look, I'll be honest with you, a little envious, because if I could go back and not have the sentiment of fuck it, I'll try it, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
I want to say that I'd go back, but at the same time, like, and it's not just that I've enjoyed some of the experiences, because I have, but there's just certain shit, even in the pitfalls of the things that I did not enjoy. I learned, I think, more than, and it's strange because again, I wouldn't put my life learnings up against yours in any constitution of
it's
knowing more either.
well,
It's
that's
just,
the thing. Like, I'd like to. For me, it's not about that, but for the people that ask and critique my
Mhm.
motives, it normally comes from a place of like, do you think you're better than me? Like because you don't do whatever. No,
Mm.
that's
I mean,
more okay.
I can see it, but
It's more of an Australian cultural thing as well.
I would say so because here you would kind of be. I think you'd get the same reaction I had kind of universally here in the States. It would just be like, "Holy shit! Wow, fucking wow!" Because look, like I'm saying again, circle back the influence. It wasn't even a passing thought that I had the option not to try it because it
Interesting.
was so fucking prominent in everything that you fucking do. Every fucking thing you do. And you watch your uncles and your aunts and they're fucking
Yeah, yeah,
having a
yeah.
good time. And then your cousins graduate to being adults and they're having a good time. And you're just like, oh, it's part of it. You know what I mean? You're just like, it's
Mm-hmm.
part of it. That
Yeah.
that is what it is. And it's very cool. I think you'd have that same kind of sentiment that it's like, holy shit, I didn't even pause to. And maybe I'm a fucking idiot. Maybe there's a ton of people here in the States that are like, bro, you had the fucking choice. You're an idiot. Like,
Well, okay, that opens up this next little chapter. I mean, let's talk about experimentation because there's not surely most of I was going to say us, but use, but we'll experiment, right? Like it's like yeah, if there's a drink, yeah, I'll try it. You know, if there's a little puff, go yeah, I'll try it. If there's a little like something, yeah, something, you know, and I guess curiosity and discovery isn't in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. Then if you factor in the fact that you go to school and all through childhood and adolescence, you're told drugs are bad, don't drink, don't smoke, then there's that little hint of taboo. There's that little hint of rebellion.
well, that's the fucking age too, is you're meant to stress the boundaries of your fucking existence. Like, so someone's saying, hey, don't do it. You just in your brain go, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking do it.
And so I guess okay, for you then, like where would you draw the line between like drinking a little something, smoking a little something? Do I inject a little something?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I have my own boundary, right? Like, so I mean, even with smoking stuff, like, so here, cannabis is just, it's the fucking norm. It even was when I was a kid and it was
In
illegal.
Portland specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Portland and Oregon even blanketed, right? Oregon's kind of a green state. Um, so that was never, it was again, kind of like an alcohol thing. That was never a drug, but you caught on really quickly to the things that were because it was next level, right? Like, and what I mean by that is you look at heroin, you look at meth, you look at those kind of things in all of their subsidies. And it's, that was a world that I just couldn't go like that for some fucking odd reason. And it was, again, wasn't for me like a traumatic experience. Like I had an uncle that was fucked up or you know or anything like that. I saw some shit myself between the kids that had made those decisions that it was like, holy fuck, that's a different world, you know what I
That's
mean?
the
Like
outcome, and that's
that
not for me.
yep. And
Okay.
exactly, thank you. And like I was exposed to the outcome before the experience, right? And like thank God, because I was like, oh no, like no, I smoke weed and I drink and I'm fucking ripped and I feel good and like I'm fucking I'm healthy and strong. Like fuck doing some shit that's gonna obliterate all of that, like just absolutely destroy that. So it wasn't something that I didn't have boundaries. I definitely experimented. I had issues, and we'll save that for another part if it comes up too. But yeah, so I guess what most people classify as hard drugs, right? Like I just wasn't somewhere I could go. It was just I saw it, I knew it. It freaked me the fuck out. It just freaked me out.
Yeah, it was sort of, I guess it was sort of similar for me because where I grew up in the Hunter Valley, which is about an hour north and inland of Newcastle, so it's mining town, blue collar mining town. And at the time, it had the worst drug and alcohol problem in the state because you've got a ton of blue collar money and they've got nowhere to spend it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you sort of had three options as a kid growing up. So you could get drunk, you could get stoned, or you could go roll in the hay. And I always thought girls were more interesting. So
well, all the girls that I was running with were doing drugs too. So
right. But also, like, from what you were saying about observing the outcomes, like even being in high school and then like in Australia, the legal age to drink is 18. I know in the States it's 21. So, you'll still have kids like forging IDs to kind of get into clubs, and you can kind of get away with that when you're like 16, 17 or like whatever. And like the lads at school will be talking on the Monday, like, oh man, I was so fucking hammered on the weekend. I spewed my guts up and I can't remember what happened. And they're all high-fiving like they had a great time. And I'm listening going, I hate vomiting. This is ridiculous. And if I
Chris's personal nightmare.
Right. If I woke up the next morning and couldn't remember what I did the night before, I'd freak the fuck out. So y'all can have all of this. I'm happy being designated driver. Cool. Like,
well, so that's something that I wanted to ask you as somebody that does have the moral high ground in this situation. How often then were you around it? You know what I mean? Like
all the time. All the time.
And it's not like you, again, from what I'm gathering, it's not like you were running from it. It was just
it's just around.
It's just yours. It's yours, and I'm okay with having this.
Yeah, and I was lucky that I was never hit with the after school special. Like I never had friends come to me and go, hey man, just try it. If you want to be a part of it, just try it. I never had someone try and spike my drink for fun or any of that shit.
Well, did you talk about it? That's the thing, because I think if you were toting it, it would have been an objective for a kid. I'm going to be honest. For me, if I had a friend that was just persistent on it, I would be like, bro, what is it? And I would challenge it. And that it's wrong now sitting in that space thinking about it. But again, it's kind of the same thing we do with conversation, right? Like I'm not actually trying to get you to commit to something that's going to hurt you. I just want to test your resolve, right? Like, is this real? Like, are you fucking with me, or is this real?
I think, look, I would like to think, I guess I carried it then in the same way that I carry it now. Like, it's not a big deal to me. Like, you didn't even know.
No.
No.
Like, we have hours and hours worth of stored conversations.
40 plus episodes in, and you didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm not on the soapbox going, don't drink. No. Like, I don't, like, do what you want to do. Just sort of respect my boundaries. So, if I ever at a party, I'm trying to go back to uni days, like ever at a party, like sure it's offered, I'm like, yeah, not for me, thanks. And then sort of like move on. And then my closer friends knew like, oh, Chris is like, he's cool to like come hang out and we can do whatever. But he's not a narc and he'll come and go as he pleases. Like dinner parties with new friends and stuff, it's always just, we have this chat, like, oh, little drink, little wine, no thanks. Like, oh, beer, no thanks. Like, oh, everything okay? I'm like, yeah, I don't drink. I was like, oh, okay, well, we've got water, we've got soft drinks, we got, whatever. I'm like, okay, thanks, cool. It's an adult conversation. But again, I guess that's alcohol. I'll tell you another story, and this sort of opened my eyes as well. And maybe I was naive. I remember. So alcohol mostly is what I've been around, and maybe weed, yeah, uni days, a lot of friends were stoners. You know, if they were taking pills.
Well, I was going to ask cannabis, like I don't know how many states now, but it's
Right.
recreationally legal in quite a bit of the US. So like
Well,
what?
it wasn't at the time of me growing up. It was still
Right.
like a bit of a
Same.
right.
Yep. It
So
was
and
underground black market, fucking
yeah.
drug deals in the fucking parking lot.
Yeah. And I'm sure I've been to house parties where like people are like popping pills or like doing acid or whatever, and they're kind of out of it. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But I think the biggest culture shock to me was as an Australian, then working in London and working in bars in London, and Coke was like tap water, bruh, off the fucking hook. And I felt so naive because it was, and okay, there was one pub in particular in Putney, which was sort of like the party pub, and it was fucking hell. Like you came in, you signed on for your shift, and then you did a cheeky line, and then you went upstairs and you worked. And the manager knew, and all the owner was there, and that's just sort of what you do. And if you, rather than ducking out for a quick cigarette, like you go down to do like a cheeky line, then come back up. It was like house policy. And I was the only, and obviously I was the only kid that wasn't, and I also wasn't drinking. And
They were like, "Hey, we got to keep an eye on this motherfucker." Seriously.
Yeah, amazing. But yeah, and yeah, surely that was weird. That was a real, like, holy shit, this is how the world operates. It's also one of those things, I think, that because I'm not looking for it, or then I don't really see it. And at the moment, and at the moment, my world is not so impacted by what I don't see in this respect. But then there's my brother, for instance, does smoke, does drink, does partake in other substances. You know what I mean? So figure that out. It's just, it is what
okay,
it is.
then let's get into the real nitty-gritty here.
Mm.
Does it change your perspective of someone knowing that they use a substance or partake? And if it doesn't, at what degree does it? Because you're not going to tell me at some point you're not affected by someone's level of use or their behavior within the use or whatever the fuck it may be. But
I hear.
What is that for you?
Look, I guess it depends on your relationship with me. So I had a best friend. I had a very good friend for about 7 years. We're affectionately known as the husbands, right? Because and he liked to go to raves. He liked to pop pills and take a few other little substances and whatever else. The thing is, he knew I wasn't into it, and he never did it around me. Like, it was, he's got his own little private world, and that's cool. If he was going out for a big weekend, then I'll see you on Monday. And that was that. It was, I guess, you asked me where I draw judgment. It's sort of like, if it's...
Thank you. That's what I meant.
It's sort of... I've been with people and even dated girls who have like shown up drunk, or like shown up and then like had to go and take something. And my little judgy Chris goes, do you have to take this to cope with me? Is this how...
Interesting.
Like there's been... It's a horrible cliche, but I tried to go on a date with an Irish girl once, and
That's a fucking burden.
The minute we went out, she started like pounding drinks. Like not really much conversation, but like just getting fucking hammered. And my immediate impression was, is it me, or are you just that insecure about being a boy that you have to get fucking hammered to cope or like to hide in this way? Because for me, this is directly what you're getting at. For me, a lot of the recreational use of any substance is often a coping mechanism for people.
Oh, 1,000%. It's never actually at the... There's very few people that leave it at the recreational level.
Right. And pick your substance. Europe has a very different drinking culture to the States and Australia. It's one of the one things I really loved about France, actually, was dropping into a cafe, being able to get an espresso. And also they've got 3 beers on tap. So you can go to a cafe, get a beer, like a French beer in a left glass, because every beer has its own glass, and you'll watch as the locals like have one beer, merci, and go on their way in the same way that we'd have a coffee. Whereas
Interesting.
really fucking cool. Not having to sync 4 or 5 with lads.
Catch
You
a
know what I mean?
buzz, alter the fucking terrain.
None of that.
Whatever the fuck it is. Yeah.
So
Huh.
yeah, and again, even to your point about me being judgy, like again, I'll tolerate alcohol.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
won't. It's interesting. I won't tolerate cigarettes. I won't date a girl that smokes cigarettes.
I smoked for 12 plus years and I'm in the same boat now. No fucking shot. I
Right.
can't be near it, can't be around. It blows my motherfucking mind that I was at any point in time okay with it. And look, it's funny because as I was quitting, I did all the normal research on how bad is it for you and how long does it take to recover and all this shit, like, and I mean, really, actually, factually speaking, if you look at some of the shit we eat in the US, we're not far off on its fucking carcinogenic levels from smoking a cigarette. So I was like, fuck, what is it for me that I need to quit? And I took a real look at, God, this is where I'm going to sound judgy, the demographic that it was the norm, right? And I was like, that's not where I'm trying to be. That's
right.
it's not in boardrooms and fucking brainstorming meetings that you see people fucking smoking a bunch of cigarettes. It's at bars and in alleyways and fucking it's. And again, I'm not putting myself above anybody that smokes cigarettes, because I do actually know a couple wildly successful people that still smoke cigarettes. Look at Post Malone, for instance. The motherfucker is one of the richest, most successful musicians in the world, and he's smoking cigarettes all the time. Do what you're gonna do, but for me, like you're saying, I can't. The smell, can't fucking do it.
I think I had one girlfriend once who was German, and that was kind of what sealed it, because like she smoked all the time. Like, I just can't kiss you when I want, and so that was sort of decided.
But I don't feel like that's judgy, because again, there's
I'm sure
there's differences between the outside pressure of the influence that we're talking about. So when it's cigarettes, it's not just you may or may not influence a decision I might make. You are influencing the environment around me, and you're taking that space from me. And
sure, but
I wouldn't do that to you, is what I mean.
Do people who smoke think of it like that?
No, I didn't
Okay.
at all. But but that's the thing. That doesn't give you the permission or the excuse to void yourself of thinking like that. Well, that's just ignorant, and you're rude. In my opinion, you're like, what the fuck, bro? Your brain never went there.
So this leads into then why
is it no longer socially acceptable inside then, right? Because it's that common indicator that like nobody's actually cool with it, right? So like for you, again, to know that in some subliminal level, subconscious level, and still not make any indicator that might affect the fucking presence in your presence in the room, it just seems naive, actually, now speaking about it more than anything. Like, and that's just silly as shit. Like, you're not 10, like, you know that the shit you're doing fucking stinks and people might not like it. And on top of that, it's fucking killing your ass. So just stop.
All right. So now that we've sort of had a chat around what a drug is and what a narcotic is and what an antidepressant is, and sort of understanding that they're sort of in 3 separate spheres, where does the hypocrisy sort of come from? And so why don't we just legalize everything? You know what I mean?
I mean, we're trying to.
Right. Because why? We'll draw up legal boundaries around certain substances, even though, and alcohol is one of the biggest contributors to violence, to mood, mental health, and all this sort of thing. Partly because it is so common. Like, if there's, it is so the biggest fish in the pond. So of course it would be naturally attributed to all of these sorts of things, And you're right, prohibition didn't work and hasn't worked for a lot of countries. So, do we step the other way? Do we say, well, all right, if we want to legalize weed, then let's legalize coke and regulate it. Let's legalize heroin and marijuana. Like you sort of like a half step there with some treatment plants, some methadone clinics. You know what I mean? So, and there was the reason there's a financial case shown that the cost of repeatedly hospitalizing addicts and, over how many years and months, and then their eventual death, is the cost to manage it in this way and potentially rehabilitate them is a fraction of what it would to treat an addict to keep them alive, to just remain addicted.
Yeah, well, interesting. So, I mean, what I'm pulling from what you're saying there is like, it's a common theme that I bring into this conversation is if people had the right information, they'd be fine, right? And maybe not. Maybe I'm giving people more credit than they deserve.
Probably.
But probably am. But in the same respect, it's like, so the alcohol is the example. Tossed around, thrown around, fucking normalized. Everybody's doing it. Fuck it. Let's market the shit out of this thing. Nobody stopped to say, hey, this is going to fucking kill you if you do too much of it and you do it too frequently. Nobody has that conversation, right? Like, and if you were, again, the taboo might be there where it's like, ooh, I've got to try it, right? But I think it would die off really quickly if everyone had the information and the appeal, right? Like when when you actually break down what a fucking hangover is, that's not a good thing that your body's going through that, right? Like, come on, people.
Cool.
No, it's not.
But I'm one of the boys. It's amazing. Sex is so much better when you're high, Broedy. You don't even know. You don't even know, guys. Just on another level.
You know what? And it's funny. Talking from someone that uses cannabis, and that's the thing. I think I find more genuine enjoyment and experiences that I'm not altered, for lack of a better word. Well, I'm being serious because the thing is, I think a lot of the times too, especially with this stuff that's normalized, is like we were talking about, you lose your baseline, right? Like you don't have anywhere to.
Well, I know we're running for time, but like this kind of dives deep into the question I guess I really want to ask is like, why do we do it? Like, why do we do it? Why does it? I mean, let's move past adolescent experimentation. I want to taste all the things on the buffet to see what I like. Cool. That's a healthy enough approach. But then why? What is it about life or the human condition where this, for most people, it isn't a one-off, and you
decide to stay there, right?
You decide to stay there, not just with alcohol. We're talking about like folks that like need a couple of lines like to function.
Yep.
At work, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm talking to you, LinkedIn. We all know like all the crypto bros and all the executives are doing all the lines.
That energy isn't coming from the computer.
That's it, and speed is awfully productive. So I hear. So, looking squarely in your direction before you talk about your work-life balance. Alcohol to medicate, weed to. I knew a girlfriend. Yeah, it was sure you drink, you do lines while you're drinking, and then you smoke weed to take the edge off, the come down from the coke, right? And then rinse, repeat. And another, also looking squarely at the film industry, where all of the crew and the cast are well and truly on the Charlie, just because that's what you do. Because that's how it's done. And that's how you work 12-hour days for 6 weeks. Right? So let's not be naive. But then how do you, where does it start? Why does it continue? And surely there's a little, Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder going, it's not good for you. Yeah, I know you can quit anytime you want, but it's fucking expensive. and it's not great for you. What's the motivation? Like, is it purely, well, is it to cope with the pressures of life? Is it an escapist habit?
Well, that's when I'd reference antidepressants, you know, and not to run straight back to experimentation, but it's like whatever line you're willing to cross in your mind that's acceptable. I think we all have that ability to say, I need something, right? And whether that's an antidepressant, whether that's a drug or a narcotic, whether that's eating yourself fucking stupid with food or shit, dude. I've even had conversations with some of the bros that are really into the gym culture. That shit eventually becomes a drug. And it's funny too, because a lot of these guys go, no, I'm not addicted to the gym. It's like, yeah, bro, let me see you produce a fucking ounce of dopamine without moving weight. Like a single fucking one. Can't do it, because that's where they learn to regulate that field, and like, and it makes sense and it's fine, but it's like, it's the same thing in my mind. It's like you're using an environment or a substance to fucking regulate, and it's like, which one are you okay with, you know? Because again, not to take your moral card, but it's like everybody has something, right, that you are willing to say, okay, life, you got me.
Yeah, but to counter that, I would reason that becoming addicted to the gym is not. No. But no, I get it. You know, let's say you go through a heartbreak and you want to feel better about yourself, and you don't, you know, the most immediate place to start is, I want to work on me. I want to get strong. I want to get fit. It might start there, but you know, it's personal development and it's growth, and that's what you become driven to, right? Okay, I get that. That's dissimilar from lying to family members, stealing money, you know, harming other people in order to fund, you know, another addiction. Like, I don't see many gym bros, you know, selling their iPod to get a little spare cash to pay for the membership that week.
Pre-workout can be pretty fucking expensive. And just so for the misfits, because like, I feel like I did talk myself into a bad position there. I go to the gym every fucking day. It's not. I'm for all intents and purposes a gym bro, but
and similarly, you can call me a caffeine junkie, because if I haven't had like a decent espresso per day, I'll have headaches by the afternoon. You know what I mean? So it is evident that my system has become reliant and somewhat addictive to caffeine. And if I have too much of it, I get a bit speedy and all those sorts of things. So I'm well aware of that. However, that's also a different world from, you know, what heroin, what
stealing a TV from a fucking an apartment in the middle of the night.
all of that.
I could see you being without coffee for at least 2 weeks and doing some pretty extreme shit to get it.
In the corner, like disheveled and like, man, nasty. I tried it once about a few years ago. I tried going on a detox. It didn't. Another story for another time. But again, where I want an answer. Give me a rationale. Like, what drives us, all of us, to seek substances, to hide, to escape? Like, is life really that difficult and that hard that you can't show up sober?
It's fucked, because like a large portion of me and the ideal version of myself would be like, absolutely the fuck not.
Just be honest.
I mean, look at history. It's not like this shit's new. You know what I mean? It's not like this shit's new. I think there is something about the gravity of life that kind of pushes you into those situations. And for me, it raises the question then, is that the test, right? You know, like you said, do I show up sober, or do I take the Lotus, you know, and fucking...
So that, yeah. It's a personal choice for everyone.
Mm-hmm,
I guess that's where.
Yep.
I guess here's what's the moral here. Here's the moral. Well, here's my moral. If there's one, if I did have a little pearl of moral superiority, it is this. It's despite every heartbreak, every fucking disaster, every different country, every loss, every trauma, I showed up sober and like squarely looking face in the eye. I haven't hid from anything or run from anything in that way. And that's the one, because also it's not as much of a flex, I think, as it may sound, because surely you all know, like, once you recover from the hangover, once you wake up the next morning, once you have tried to obliterate yourself and still have to wake up and look in the mirror, it's still there. The demon's still there, and now you have to overcome a hangover and the shit you were running from.
Well, thank you for saying it that way, because I'm going to tell you what I took from this is exactly that. Is like, it's always there. It's always fucking there. It is. It's always present. It's always there, whether that's in the influence or the environment or what's around you or the people or the circumstance. The option is always there. But why then, like you said, that question? And then if you do choose not to, I think for me, the moral obligation is that I'm winning. I'm winning, right? And whether that's against myself or whatever the fuck's on my back that makes me want to make that decision, that's what you can take away from it, is you're winning, right? When everybody else stands in the same crowd and they can't fucking bear the weight, you're the one that does. Like that's something, right? That's something.
And from that, if there's one takeaway from all of this, folks, is, again, like, you get a choice. Just because the whole family's drinking, just because the wife and the partner is like, hey babe, a glass of wine, you don't have to. Like, you still have a choice. Same with smoking, anything. Same with, it's the holiday season, right? By the time this comes out, we probably would have moved just probably around New Year. So y'all know exactly what we're talking about. You got options. You got options. And if we say we can do professional differently, then you can definitely do life and personal differently as well. So consider what that might look and feel like, and how much you might rely on certain things to cope. I think that's worthy of assessment.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
We're right on time. Episode 4 talked about everything. Episode 4 talked about everything, solved nothing. Episode 5, Broedy, do you know what's coming up next?
Yeah, I do. It's the interval, and then the episode after that is female morals. So I don't want to.
Did you pull it up? You pulled up the spreadsheet. All right, it's okay, man. It's all right. Good for you. No one has to drink. Hey!
Perfect.
That is. All right, so we've got the interval. We've got the interval, folks. We'll just be riffing on whatever's going on at the time. And again, in the meantime, you can join us at Camp Misfit. You can get all of the episodes 2 weeks in advance. You can also get bonus super secret sexy Camp Misfit episodes. So once per month, there'll be a secret VIP episode for Camp Misfits only. So you can get all the goodies there. The interval's coming up next. That's it. That's a wrap. I've been Chris.
I've been Broedy.
And you stay classy, Misfits. Don't do drugs. They're bad. We'll see you in the next one.